It sounds like you're running around super busy all the time. Yes. So being single threaded like that, what do you do to avoid burnout? How do you juggle everything?
Again, I definitely say the preparation and planning ahead is the thing that allows me basically to coordinate things a lot more better than just me being only one person.
Hello, and welcome to Behind the Screens, IT at ND, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the IT solutions consultants at the University of Notre Dame.
Here we explore the challenges they face, the innovative solutions they provide, and the tips and tricks that can help you make the most out of your technology. I'm Krista, manager of IT marketing and communications in the OIT.
And I'm Scooter, Director of Information Technology for the College of Arts and Letters. We're thrilled to have you with us today. Our guest today is Abdikhaaliq Osman, IT Solutions Coordinator for the University of Notre Dame London campus. Welcome, Osman.
Thanks for having me. Yes, my name is Osman. I'm the IT Solutions Coordinator based in London. I've been with the university for about 2.5 years now at the moment. I work with Corey Klimek and Rich Jervis and Mark, who's retired now. At the moment, it's only Corey and I. And we're trying to find somebody else basically to replace Rich's position.
Excellent. So just the two of you right now in the team in London. What would a fully staffed team look like?
So the tech support here in London has always been very small. To start with, Rich, who has done it almost 20-something years, and obviously more we've grown exposure in the global gateway. We needed somebody else to do and help Rich, so which I joined. So at the moment, I think 2 people will be the ideal. Mainly somebody to focus more on the classroom support, but also somebody to provide an on-site support as we're here 5 days a week.
Excellent. And so one of the things we're particularly interested in are the types of roles that people have. You know, we notice your title's a little different than we
Yes.
work with a lot of IT solutions consultants,
Mhm.
and you've got
Yeah.
a coordinator role.
Mhm.
How would you describe your role and what you do, and how that may be similar to what our consultants do, or different from what they do every day?
Yeah. So if I explain to you, so mainly I've worked for companies based in the UK, and I think the equivalent of what I do would be for more like second line support, I would say. But the difference is here that obviously I work with Corey, who's based in the US, so there is some sort of responsibility to making sure that, as far as coordination, working with local vendors that we use, for instance, our printer services are locally sourced, but we also have AV systems that we also locally manage as well. We work at the vendor. So there is an element of responsibilities and managing things locally, but also communicating with people who are based on campus, such as the networking team who manage our network infrastructure as well. So there is a extended level of just beyond technical skills and expertise, I would say.
Yeah, I remember. Gosh, I guess it was probably about a year and a half ago now. I worked with Corey to help ND Global get sort of some awareness surrounding, how folks can contact the service
Yeah.
desk, and because there was like a lot of feelings that they couldn't contact the service desk because of a time difference. So what is that looking like these days? How is the relationship with the service desk, and how is things divided across time zones? How are
Yeah, I mean,
things?
so thanks to Corey. Obviously, when I started, I come from a systems that based on heavily processes where everything is logged via service, a ticket system, everything's streamlined as well. Obviously, Rich was the only person here, so there's only so much he can do himself, but everything was very much manual. So we tried to move away from that, try to document as much as possible, try to create a link between here, also Canvas as well, and to kind of like redefine what 24-hour support means because of time zones we have, but also to give everybody here the sense that there's a technical support on site, but at the same time, only 2 people. I think we have like 20 something staff members and faculties, but also have a system in place where they can raise a case, have a reference in place that they know what the updates and stats are. And we've made a lot of progress from that. Now we have a dedicated mailbox where if you send an email to it imports to ServiceNow, and everything gets logged as well. And there's also exposure that not only me, but also people who based on campus, the service desk and Corey, the IT level, will be able to see basically what's happening here as well.
Excellent. So can you tell us a little bit about what's the dynamic like among faculty, staff, and students in London? I know from Arts and Letters, we send faculty over pretty regularly. Do you see, are there any faculty that are there permanently? Do you have faculty, how do you feel about that revolving door of people in and out all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I've been here 2.5 years now, and one of the things that I would say, as far as like adjusting to, and also beyond the technical support, is also getting to know the people, but also understanding the differences of faculty and their needs, but also kind of tailoring to it. For instance, we have the law school faculty who often can be, but also do classes here as well. We have the director of law school as well, who we support. As I think that the sense of what we're trying to do is basically the general purpose of support, that everybody gets a technical support on site, but also elements of like remote support as well, but very much limited because we're here 5 days a week. There is an interesting dynamic because you come in a day and you will meet people who'll be here for 6-7 months for a semester, and then you've got people who will be here for the summer programs, I think 6 weeks if I'm not mistaken. So it kind of like moves around and it changes. We've put together KPIs in place where we've tried to communicate with faculty via emails, but also arrange meetings with them via the academic support team who are based here as well.
Do you guys have, what sorts of other university relationships do you guys have in the summer, and what is that going to look like?
I do believe we host external students. I think the last one were from Baltimore, if I'm not mistaken, and we do have them coming sometime in June, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the bit that's slightly different from, I guess, the way we arrange things, because even people who visit from the US, they have net ID and everything else sorted. All we have to do is basically set up a local print access and a guest network, where when you've got somebody who's not been here before and doesn't have any net ID or anything sorted out, we create everything locally. Recently, we've had some challenges because our local network here is set up slightly a lot more different than what you might have on campus, but also is only, at the moment, myself. So we try to kind of get ahead of ourselves things and do as much preparation as possible and accommodate people. But as far as like, I think the external users, I think that's the bit where we try to kind of set up something and communicate with them as much as possible. We do have a residential hall called Conway Hall. It's just about 15-20 minutes away from the main office here. So we go there to do an orientation, usually the first arrival and then like second day. So make sure that everyone is aware of how we process things, share the KPIs. We've got QR codes basically posted around the building.
What are you guys getting ready for this summer? What's it like over there? I know that we have summer school starting up in a few weeks. Yep. Graduation is coming, and then that's going to happen. What sorts of stuff do you guys have to prepare for over the summer?
So next week we have students arriving on the 19th, if not then the 20th. So the first thing we do basically orientation. There is a cinema nearby that we go there, and basically every team presents the part of the orientation. We go there as far as technical perspective of things. We have a video we put together which essentially explains like how things work here. But we also have a PowerPoint as well set up. And then after the orientation, we share the KPI of how the platforms and services we run here from a technical perspective. But also on the second day, depending on when classes start, I will be going there to do some sort of introduction.
Oh, what is the video?
So video was created, I think, a year or a couple of years ago. Some of the fellows on campus actually helped us with, where basically explains how things work in here, how to print,
Uh-huh.
and our printing services use a quota, which has a £50, but it's not actual money. It's just a more of management process in place. So it had a couple of, I guess, punchy kind of jokes as well, so what it means, but
I
also
love it.
relate from the like local of it. I can share it with you afterwards, but
Please share
it's a
that
really
with
good
us.
video. Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yes. Very cool.
yeah.
Excellent. So that's that. You talk about how you're orienting students. How do you orient
Yes.
faculty to the London campus who maybe haven't taught there before? It's my first
Yeah.
semester abroad. What are you
Mhm.
going to tell me? What do I need to know?
Yeah, so the academics office here puts together basically sessions where they meet the academics office and other people as well. But we also have tech sessions here where I do a demo, essentially basically how things work in here. We also have it, I guess, sometimes have difficulties with timing because people and putting together like at times as well. But what we try to do is basically put everyone together and then do a demo, because everything here is standardized. So once we do a demo in one class, you should be able to do the rest. But also, I'd say the first a week or so when the classes start, I will be around to make sure that if anybody has questions, but also to be here before classes start as well. So somebody will be here. As far as like the sessions we do, it will be very much hands on how to use the tech we have here. Any questions you have. As far as differences, we try to standardize everything as much as it's on campus. So I don't think there's a much difference from a hardware sense of things or how to utilize the equipment, apart from two things. I'd say our network locally set up, but also our printing services.
So switching over to a little bit of the day-to-day, what does IT consultancy look like in your world? Do you guys call it IT consultancy?
I mean, the idea is that basically, from a keyboard failure to the network goes down, essentially, that's what you will get to. So first thing in the morning when I come in, what we do is basically do a check, sweeping around the classroom checks to make sure everything's in correct order and condition, and make sure that classroom's ready to start. But also go around. We have meetings with staff, usually on Wednesdays, where we also advise of any changes, anything we want to do, any maintenance we have in place. We also have communications with our local vendors for install printing systems, but also the networking team as well. So essentially, from keyboard networking to a maintenance in place. But I would say the main focus would be the classroom. We have a telephone service in place on a what we call hand group. Basically, I'd say more of like a circle group where somebody has a problem in a classroom, they ring, and I'm part of the team. But at the moment, it's only myself. But before, it used to be two of us. So that's I would say the more priority. Where if somebody has a problem, they call the number, and then I will attend to the call.
And how many classrooms are you supporting?
I'd say about 9 at the moment now we have.
9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Enough to keep you off the streets. Enough
Yes.
to keep you
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah. But one thing I would say though, I think we try to be as much proactive as possible. So we try to do the maintenance and checks prior to that. On Fridays, I try to do a lot more hardware maintenance where I make sure that, because obviously when you have people using things back and forth, a lot of things can change. So we don't want to find a surprise. So on Fridays, I try to kind of do the maintenance checks, any sort of software upgrades, firmware upgrades, all those things. I do them on Fridays, and then every day in the morning, I'll do the kind of initial checks and make sure everything's in the right place. Microphones are plugged in. People tend to kind of unplug things often.
Yes.
So yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens on this side of the pond too. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for those of us who haven't been to London, I mean, could you
Mhm.
describe the campus a little bit for us? You told us there are 9 classrooms. I mean,
Ooh, yeah.
are you supporting conference rooms? What kind of spaces are there? How big? I mean,
It is smaller compared to what you guys have. I mean, you guys have a whole village there. So it is 4 floors, I believe, here. We have conferences go around. We have events team that we support. So we basically try to coordinate with everybody else. As far as conferences, when we have classrooms, we might have faculty wants to do conferences in the evening. We also have events team who coordinate events locally, but also from the US and other places who visit here to do event based on whatever's going on at that time. At the moment, as far as conferences, it's usually when faculty do will be locally done on their own. They will let us know if they need any technical support. I work with the academics team who will know more details of when they have events, then I'll be around.
And do you feel at all connected to your other global partners? Like, I know, we've got a big, big installation down in Rome. I mean, I know you're all part of the same abstract team, but do you feel like you're part of one team?
Yes, I mean, 2.5 years could seem a lot, but obviously the business is big, so there are a lot of things I'm still getting around. And thanks to Corey, who's been working very hard to try and get me around and communicate with people, but also give me that exposure as well. We work with people. I mean, there's only one person who's based in Rome and Kalmar as well. I think mainly it's more of an email communication, I would say. But I'm able to pinpoint who's who, and if I have any questions or if there is any sort of let going around, I know who to communicate and the right team to forward to.
So I'm interested to hear you and Scooter and Andy kind of talk about what are some of the differences in London and how do some of the practices that you guys have over there align with some of the practices that we have here on campus. So I don't know how you guys want to get that
Oh,
conversation
so
started, but that's really interesting.
I like asking about, we're working really hard on campus to get everybody to utilize the service desk as our first level support. I know there's some ongoing conversation, Osman, about doing that with the international locations, but how closely
Yes.
are you tied in now? I mean, do you feel like the
So,
service desk is handling things for you, or
mhm.
work in progress?
So that's a good question. So we have the concept that we try to advertise people to raise the case, no matter what it is exactly. If I go to somebody and I've picked up a case, then I will do the case. But usually, if it's not really urgent, then raise a case and then I'll come by and then we have something already locked. That is a concept that is still in progress. I would say most people would kind of prefer to say, you here, so I already told you. It's not really something that I have to put in writing. So I have to bring that out of, saying, if you have an issue, you have to raise a case. So that's something that I think definitely an ongoing progress. As far as Canvas, there are a lot of things that I'm not too sure how it works, or I might know as far as like the name or familiarity, but not necessarily sure how to resolve it, or might not find the actual the appropriate KPIs to follow steps and resolve the issue. The help desk has been very helpful, and there are a few names that I'm able to pick up and ask questions, so that's really good. I try to kind of also engage with different departments via Zoom meetings, the hands-on meetings as well. The team who also manage Jamf, and then a couple of people who also I know by name that try to arrange meetings in person with the help of Corey.
Yeah. So are you guys doing all your Jamf updates now? Getting that?
Yeah.
Getting those?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy. So it sounds like you're using a lot of the same basic foundational tools that we are too. If you're managing your Macs with Jamf, I assume you're managing your Windows boxes with MECM, and you're using ServiceNow for your ticketing. So we share a lot of commonalities. Are there any tools that you use that are specific to sort of non-US operations? Are there any things that you use that are specific to being an international campus?
I wouldn't say so. I think from a management and enterprise level of things, everything is via the same thing that US-based licensed software that we use. The only thing I would say different, it would be the printing services. We have something called PaperCut, which is locally managed, locally sourced. So that's something that we use. It's got drivers that we distribute via KBI. It needs to be installed on every machine in order for you to print. And it also gives you basically a code access that you can actually type into the printer, and that is run within the network that we use. We also have a local network as well, which is slightly differently configured, apart from the edge room, which we also use it. We have an ND secure, which is locally configured and allows you to print. We also have a private network where guests can access without basically getting on any sort of like managed network.
You mentioned doing maintenance checks on Friday afternoons. So, and other daily checks. So do you guys work like a 40-hour work week, or what are your working hours like?
Yes, so we log 8 hours a day, so that's what our time is. So as far as like the the I guess time total routinely, when Rich was here, I was doing from 9:30 to 5:30, and then he was coming early 8:30, I believe. But now I'm the person who does it from 9. Now because I'm on my own now, so sometimes like I might finish around 6, but my time is from 9 to 5:30.
Okay. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any particularly unique challenges or issues that arise when you're supporting the London location? Are there things that are unique to you? I mean, it sounds like you share a lot of the same issues we do. I just wonder about the exotic location, or at least exotic compared to South Bend.
Yeah, I would say the different levels of communication that we have with different teams. For instance, we have the law school director and the assistant. I think her name is Mary. We also work with. They have a slightly kind of, I guess, different tone of arranging things. Also working with them directly. The time is also sometimes quite different. We also have rector's team who based on the residential hall where students stay as well. So I guess navigating around, working with everybody, I think that's the bit that gives kind of like a different flavor to, in terms of like uniqueness, I would say. But technical perspective, everything is pretty much the same, and that is basically done deliberately.
So, Osmond, I feel like I should have asked this earlier, but can you tell us approximately how many faculty, staff, and students are in London during the regular semester?
So as far as on like faculty list, with the local but also visiting as well, 56, and about 25 in terms of like staff, I would say. As far as students, for instance, the summer program, we have about 140 students.
Sounds like a fun load. Can you tell us about any recent challenge that stood out in your work there, and what's maybe something you learned from it?
Um, I would say navigating as far as the communication, but also, for instance, like I said to you, we do maintenance on Fridays. I do it. Um, one of the things that I think for the past, I would say, a couple of months is when we have a new people, they tend to be slight changes of like how the tech's being utilized, which things get unblocked, and we raise the concerns with people via email. Gently, maybe speak to a particular person without picking people. So that's something I've noticed that we've had difficulties, especially because if something goes wrong or if something goes down as far as classrooms go, we have to communicate with people back on campus, and it takes a lot more time zone difference as well. So we have to be very careful how we utilize the tech, but also be respectful that, if there was a hardware failure, we know the classroom can go, and even the space often might not be enough to accommodate and arrange classes. So that's something I would say it definitely, as far as like challenging goes, that I had to go through and establish a ways to communicate with people, whether it's in person but also communication with the academic support team, who usually communicate with faculty a lot more than I probably would. So that's something I would say, as far as like challenging goes, on top of my list.
Man, so it sounds like you're running around super busy all the
All the
time.
time.
Yes. So being single threaded like that, what do you do to avoid burnout? How do you juggle everything?
So the interesting thing is that, when you come to the building, often you wouldn't think there's much going on, because obviously, even though I'm the only tech person here, but we try to plan things ahead and prepare things as much as possible. At the moment, so one of the things that's taking a lot more time, but thankfully I'm doing a time where we don't have students around. which we are doing upgrades of CWB machines where staff are getting new machines. So enrollment of these devices, making sure that the devices are correctly enrolled. As you know, sometimes things might not go very well on the third attempt, but also if something goes wrong, communicating with the imaging team and coordinating. So those are things that I would definitely say takes a lot more time. From the daily based technical support, I think it's a more of, I think when you do something and you would see it, I try to take a feedback from what I do to get a sense of like, could I've done any improvements? What could I have done? So I definitely say the preparation and the planning definitely helps a lot more time. I know people who based here a lot more in person than just like somebody I just met. So it gives me some time and confidence that they know if there is an issue raised, it will be resolved. So if somebody raised an issue this morning, I might be able to look at the more prioritized issues and fix this issue like midday if it's not really something with high priority. But again, I definitely say the preparation and planning ahead is the thing that allows me basically to coordinate things a lot more better than just me being only one person.
So let's shift gears just a little bit here, and maybe tell us a little bit about sort of the local color, the local flavor of being in London. If you were trying to convince one of us to come over and work with you in that office, what are some of the things that you do for fun? What are some of the things you'd recommend that we go check out for sure? You've been there 2.5 years. I got to guess you've got a couple of
Yes.
nice places on your list.
Yeah. I mean, London is fun. There are a lot of things happening. It's never quiet, so that's something I would say. Especially where the office is based. It's literally the heart of central London. It might be difficult to get to because of traffic and everything else, but also it's a place that there are a lot of things happening. You've got Piccadilly Circus literally within 2-3 minutes on the side. Trafalgar Square is literally, you can see from the window. It's a fun space, but also it's very busy. One of the things that I'm not particularly a fan of that when I come in the morning is that there's literally a crowd of people standing outside every morning and that you have to kind of go through and navigate. So that's something that I would say it could be exciting for the person who's visiting, but if you live here, definitely not something I look forward to.
I can relate to that a little bit because I worked in Chicago and I would take the train in, and I remember feeling like super irritated by all the day trippers on the train. They'd be so excited. They're so excited to get on the train, and I'm so not.
Well, Krista, is it time for Consultant Quirks?
I think it is time for Consultant Quirks. So this is where we ask a few fun rapid fire questions, and feel free to get as creative as you want with the answers. So what fictional character do you identify with most? It can be animated, real.
Yeah, I'm not a particularly fictional person, so I don't even think I know much about it.
That's okay, because I have a whole list of them, and we can
and
figure
so
it out
so
and do
spin
another
it a
one.
little bit. What's if are you reading nonfiction then? Is that kind of your big thing? Or tell us what you're reading.
I'm more of like a psychology person and tend to read more like a random side of things that have sense of like ambiguity, if that makes sense. My way of reading is basically like if I read the description of the book or what it says and it gives me a sense of like what is it about, I probably wouldn't read it. So
Yeah. So let's ask you this then. What book would you recommend everyone read, and why?
I would say The Midnight Library.
Tell us about that.
So I read it a while ago, and it's a book that resonated with me as far as life, as far as how I see life and the world, and it's something that's not particularly unique for you to be into a particular sector of like books or art in a sense. So it has a broad sense of things to discover. So I definitely would say The Midnight Library. Somebody recommended to me, and like I said to you, I'm not a person who reads the title and says, okay, I'm going to read it because it has a sense of like what it really says. And I read it. It gave me a sense of what it was, but I still wanted to read.
Excellent. Got it. So here's the next one. If you weren't in IT, what job would you have? What job do you wish you had?
Pharmacist. I actually done it for about 6 months. I'd
Pharmacist.
said yes. That was actually my like initial career.
Yeah.
When I
I
moved
bet
to the
that'd be way
UK.
more fun
So
in
yeah,
London than it is here because here you have to deal with like, oh, you can't afford your medicine, like
no,
insurance,
we
Oh,
you know,
don't do
so
that here.
probably much better there, right?
oh, what a
I didn't
downer,
mean to
Krista.
interrupt.
It might be, we might be going towards that way. Unfortunately, I hope not. But not so much so. Usually, just behind the counter, and just people come with their prescriptions.
Okay. So you used to do pharmacy. That'd be something that you would want to return to then.
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome.
I mean, that's a really specialized field. I mean, that's
Yeah.
um, where I went to school, pharmacy was a major, and we had some pharmacists across the hall in the dorm from us, and I think they studied harder than the med type students would, or something. I mean, there's just so much to know, so many interactions. Um, we already know that you're very bright because you're working in IT and in London and with Notre Dame, but wow, I mean, pharmacy is just such a deep field.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to pursue a career in it. And the interesting part is that when I moved to the UK, obviously English wasn't my first language, and I've struggled with it. And obviously, it's a career that you have to be very precise, but also the curriculums that you do it, the English level that was required at that time, I thought it was something that could put me back, and I thought maybe I'll try something else. I went for an IT seminar for a couple of weeks, and I said, well, I've always been interested in computers and mainly breaking them down and whatnot. So I thought this looks interesting too. I did an apprentice job after 5 months, and I thought, well, if I'm able to do this within less than a year, maybe I'll give this a try. I did a bit of research, and I also realized that the world we move into, it's a more of a tech based, so definitely something that I'd like to be part of.
Yeah. Interesting. So, well, then let me ask you this: if you could swap jobs with anyone for a day, who would it be?
A particular person or just like a career base?
Yes.
Just a career or a person, your call.
Okay. I would say maybe a pilot.
Yeah, why is
Cool.
that?
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated about it. Not necessarily doing the job, but just what it involves.
Mhm.
I'm afraid of heights, so it wouldn't be much of use for me. But I've always been fascinated about just the technical aspect of things, but also like putting a giant plane into the sky, like what it involves, and obviously I've heard of it and I've seen in movies. So just the sense of like what it involves behind the scenes, just sit down there
Mhm.
and see what happens. I think that's something I would say.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that.
I've flown a couple of times, and I've kind of noticed myself kind of saying, what plane is that? What model is that? What brand is that? So I thought, looks interesting.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Osmond. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you.
Likewise, thanks for having me.
And I think we're going to be subjected to a new bit by Andy.
Yes, so this is a new segment. So welcome to Did You Know Tech Edition, where we uncover surprising tech facts and handy shortcuts that you may have not known you needed. But there's a twist. This isn't just for our listeners. Each episode, I'm going to put our hosts and the guests on the hot seat with a tech trivia challenge.
Oh,
I'll throw out a
no.
question. They'll take their best shot, and yes, we're keeping score. So each week we'll update if it's the which host is winning, or if the guests are going to accumulate. So Krista and Scooter, you guys are going to be against all the guests lumped together.
Oh man.
Oh,
And we will
Our guests are
truly
way
see.
smarter than us.
we don't stand a chance.
We'll truly see who's tech savvy and who's going to need a little extra screen time. So no cheating. Are you guys ready for the question?
No.
Probably not. No.
Keep in mind, it will be multiple choice, but don't try to look it up. What I want
Okay.
you guys to do is lock in your answer, and we'll go around the horn and have everybody repeat their answer. It's kind of on the honor system, so
Okay.
don't change your answer just because somebody else put something different, and then I will
What if I
reveal
like
the answer at the
Osmond's
end.
answer better than mine?
You're your own person. You can
I
do it.
like ChatGPT's answer better than mine.
All right. So here's the question. Which of these Google search triggers a special visual effect?
Oh,
Which
okay.
of these Google search triggers a special visual effect?
I love it when that happens.
A, do a barrel roll. B, spin page. Or C, page loop. And I'll give you guys a couple seconds to think about that. Again, that is
Should we just
A,
shout them out or what?
A, do a barrel roll. B, spin page. And C, page loop.
I think A.
Okay, Krista's going with A.
I'm going with A, especially because it ties to Osman wanting to be a pilot.
And Osman?
I agree with A. Yep.
And the correct answer is A, do a barrel roll. So everybody gets a point this time.
I was going to feel so bad if I said A and then everyone else said A and then we were wrong.
Yeah, it would have been your fault because you started it.
That's right.
My fault.
So great. Everybody gets a point on this first episode of Did You Know Tech Edition.
Now I need to check it out.
Yes,
I
that's a fun one to
It's
do.
pretty cool.
There are a handful of those. I can't remember all of the rest of them off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are a lot of good Easter eggs hidden there.
So thanks for participating, guys.
Woo, thank you.
Cool.
I'm feeling better already.
If you've got someone you'd like us to interview, just email that idea to btspodcast@nd.edu. And if there's anything else new, exciting, frustrating, or inspiring happening in your IT consultancy world, please share that with us too. We would love to hear your insights and ideas.
Next time, we'll speak with Jennifer Parker, Senior CWP Specialist from OIT's Client Experience Team. Until then, thank you for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
Signing off from behind the screens, IT at ND.
Stay tech savvy, Notre Dame.